at the conclusion of the last class, I had mentioned why is it that a insentient object like Urvaruka has been taken to talk about death and immortality. So the key word to note is Urvarukam Eva. Eva means like. So whenever we use the word like, immediately we must infer that it is a alankarika expression. Alankarika means poetic expression. It is a metaphor. So general rule, wherever you say it is like, then you are doing a upama alankara or rupaka alankara, one of those alankaras you are using. Alankara means a figure of speech. Priyanath had asked me a question about cucumber, what exactly Urvaruka means. Actually, Urvaruka belongs to the cucumber family. It's not exactly cucumber, but most of the commentators describe it as somewhat like muskmelon. It could be muskmelon, it can be even watermelon. Watermelon also can be called as Urvaruka. And then everything belonging to the cucumber family. So what happens is when the wine, slips out of the wine, when it is fully ripe, it crashes to the ground and then it gets burst and all the seeds will be thrown. That's how it actually propagates itself. So the sages who were observing the nature of this muskmelon cucumber family, when it throws all the seeds away, they were looking at throwing of all the seeds away as though you have actually thrown away all your karmas. And therefore the entire karmas are expelled. And once it is expelled, then the husk that is remaining in the Urvaruka cannot sprout. So that is why they have used the metaphor by saying Urvarukam Eva. Because once it comes out of the vine, bandhanat, from the bondage, immediately thereafter that particular fruit, devoid of the seeds, is unable to procreate. So that is what the sages saw. So Urvarukam Iva, like the muskmelon, like the watermelon, bandhanat, from bondage, mrityoho, bondage of what? Bondage of death. Mam amritat mukshiya, may I never be separated from deathlessness. So the bandhana and moksha is only for the human beings, but it is not for insentient beings like animals and plants, because animals and plants will only be going through experiencing their karma pala. That is all. So they will not acquire new karma, they cannot do new punya or new papa, so they will be just exhausting the amount of karma pala. So a jiva takes the animal form or the plant form when the karma's balance is so huge that it is impossible to work off unless the free will is taken away. So that is why for animals and the plants, free will is taken away. So this phrase Urvarukamiva bandhanat mrityor mukshi amamritat is poetic imagery. So you remember last week I said that Trayambaka mantra is an example of excellent poetry. It is not just a mantra, but it is also outstanding poetry. Then therefore the Maharshis, whose mantras are also poetic expressions, therefore the Maharshis are called Kavis. So in the Vedic addressing, Kavi and Maharshi are synonymous. That is why for Ganapati we call him as Kavim Kavinam. What is the purpose of using imagery? Especially in a text like Mantra, there are threefold purposes for using imagery. Whether it is in Kavya or in the fine arts like dance and music, in literature, and so also in the Veda mantras, there are three reasons for that. One is sensory in nature. So the persons who is contemplating on the mantra has to be pointed to a feature in nature. Because we all human beings are there, our best absorption is audio visual. So the power of audio visual is used in creating an imagery. They say that when you are walking about, you see a blossom of a flower, the flow of a river, the thunder of and the lightning of the clouds in the heaven. All those things, the feature of a nature which are perceived by the senses. And then, see, this we also use in literature, for example, or in our everyday conversation. It is bitter cold. So, bitter is a experience of taste. But we use the word bitter for cold. That means the cold we are having is as insufferable or unpleasant as the bitterness of something we have eaten, or something we have heard, something we have seen. So it's all sensory in its nature. So number one is use your sensory experience, past experience, to take you to the higher level of understanding of something which is very subtle. So first purpose. The second purpose is to make it as a metaphorical statement. For example, if you were to look at the map of the Himalayas, and then the Himalayas look as though there is a person who is outstretching his hands. And the imagination is that the Himalayas are looking towards the landmass of Bharata with the outstretched hand saying that I am here to protect you. So that is metaphorical in nature. And then we have also seen in Kumarasambhava, any of you who have gone through Kumarasambhava, it starts with a very beautiful prayer. Astyuttarasyam dishi devatatma Himalayo nama nagadhirajaha. Asti uttarasyam dishi. In the northerly direction, asti, there is. Himalayo nama, a person by the name of Himalaya. After all, it's a mountain, it's an inanimate object. And then who is he? Nagadhiraja. Naga means that which does not move. So it is mountain. Nagadhiraja, this king who is the mountain Himalaya, he is Devatatma. He is God himself. So it's a metaphorical statement. If you contemplate a little deeper on the role and the importance of Himalayas, then you will realize what glory is there if Himalaya were not there. As a student of science, you imagine what would have happened to the landmass south of the Himalayas. If it is a Devabhumi, if whatever is happening has happened in the past in India, it is because of the protection of the Himalayas. And of course, Kumarasambhava goes on to talk about many other metaphors. Sometimes you use such metaphors to later on lead you to certain other metaphorical statements. For example, how can this mountain marry a woman called Mena, and then their union can produce a goddess called Parvati. So all those things have got to be harmonized, those things which are sensorily not available. See, in the first part it was sensorily available. What is sensorily not available is metaphorical. So the next tool that has been used in Urvarukamiva is metaphorical. Then that means the bandhana that the Urvaruka suffers until it is separated by the vine is because of karma phala. When it is ripe for us to have exhausted all the karma phalas, and when the melon falls down, throws away all its seeds, that means it is metaphorically saying you have worked off all your karmas. After working off all your karmas, you don't want to take a rebirth. so that you acquire fresh karmas. So you say, Ma Amritat Mukshiya. Oh Lord, please do not separate me from that immortality, because as soon as I take birth again, I become immortal. So it is metaphorical. The third important technique that Vasishtha Maharshi has used here is symbolic. The symbolic form is, you take a lifeless object and then you point out something very special about a lifeless object to evoke a rasa or a sentiment. So what do we know? What is our experience? After all, the Venkatesha Murti in Tirupati is only a stone. Who has any doubt about it? That it is a piece of stone. It is something that is carved out by a human being. But as soon as you see the way in which the Venkatesha Murti is there, the ambience that it has been created, it evokes bhakti in you. So when you juxtapose a lifeless object in words, in literature, in song, in music, in a ritualistic environment, a lifeless object evokes bhakti. So the reference, bhakti or rasa, any sentiment for that matter. So I am reminded of this from Anandavardhana's statement, Jagadgrava prakhyam nija rasa bharat sarayati. That is, rasa or essence of the statement, it enlivens the life for the lifeless objects. The lifeless Urvaruka is enlivened with the life of immortality. So that is the beauty of Urvarukamiva Bandhanata. So what is the purpose of doing all these things? Again, there is a Shastra statement which says, Priyeshu Saubhagya Palani Charuta. So that is a fulfillment of something beautiful is only when it is serving the holy and the sacred. So what is the purpose of beauty? It is not just to titillate the senses. The purpose of the beauty is when it serves the holy, then it is beauty. That is why even if you deck the Venkateshwara Murti with 20 kilos of gold and ornamentation, it still looks beautiful. But if a woman wears 20 kilos of gold, isn't it? Why is that? Why it looks so ugly when a woman is overdressed, whereas Venkatesha Murti is overdressed, it feels beautiful. It is because all that is beautiful is in service of the holy. So therefore, Triyambakam Yajamahe, this worship of Triyambaka, every metaphor, Sugandhim, Pushtivardhanam, Urvarukam, all these things are serving the holiest of the holy, that Shiva, and therefore it is beautiful. Even though you have picked up a very ordinary substance, which you would not even look back and turn and look at it again, if it was not in the context of the Triyambaka mantra. Isn't it? Would you ever take another look at a piece of cucumber which is rotting on the floor? So this is the technique that the Rishi has given. Is it any wonder that in addition to the Gayatri mantra, the most well-known mantra is the Triyambaka mantra. Every other mantra in the whole Vedic corpus is known only to a select few. But these two mantras is known by everyone. So, how can we understand the Janma and Mrityu and the connection between Janma and Mrityu. Let me give you a reference to another text we have studied. Te sharira prapadyante apa anyapadakeshasaha tatra te yo nijajanaha Vrutva punarnrutyumapadyante. Aruna Prashna. Aruna Prashna, these mantras are a commentary on the Triyambaka mantra. Let us see how. Te ashariraha prapadyante. Those who worship the Triyambaka, when they are dead, what do you mean by when a person is dead? It means that they are freed from the bondage of the body. That jiva is freed from the bondage of the body. It attains a sukshma sharira or a subtle body to experience punya papa. Isn't it? Te ashariraha prapadyante. Prapadyante means they acquire. Not sharira, ashariraha. That means one which has got no physical body. So they attain. What is that body that they attain? It is the Sukshma Sharira. What are these Sukshma Shariras? It is those seeds of the melon. So the seeds of the melon, when it has not yet sprouted into a vine and a fruit, is Asharira. Because it has the potential karma to become a vine and a fruit in due course. Then, how are they? Apani pada keshasaha. They have no feet, they have no hands, they have no hair. If you look at the seed, can you identify what it is? Unless you have a knowledge of that particular seed, a common person will not know what seed it is. Because it is apani apada akeshasaha. Then tatra te ayonija janaha. So, but then it is just hanging on the ground until such time that the seed goes into the ground. It can never sprout, isn't it? So until such time it grows into the ground, that means ayonija, that means it has no womb. Tatrate ayonijaha. And as soon as they get into the ground, mrutva, having died, punaha, again mrityum apadyante. They will again die. Every birth is again die. So, birth, death, rebirth. Birth, death, rebirth. Mritva, punaha, mrityumapadyante. So, when they get birth, and then when they die again, what is happening? Adyamanaha swakarmabhihi. Adyamana means they are being eaten. You don't do karma. Karmas consume us. Every wrinkle I have got is that, where the karmas have eaten me. Adyamanaha swakarmavihi, consumed by our own activities, constant punya papas. So, by Triyambaka mantra sadhana, what happens? Tataha, having done the Triyambaka sadhana, puyante vasavaihi, they are all cleansed by the Adityatmaka Rudra of all the punya papas, of all the karma palas, and therefore apaitam mrityum jayati. They will actually overcome mrityu. So the one short phrase saying that urvarukameva bandhanan mrityor mukshiya mamritat. Do not separate me from immortality. What is the process by which I am not separated by immortality? You have to go to Aruna Prashna for an explanation. So why should you go to Rudroprasana? It is because all the Samhita mantras and its importance is contemplated in Aranyaka. Isn't it? Samhita mantra, Triambakam Yajamahe, is used in the Yajna through Brahmana, and then it is actually contemplated, its importance is contemplated in Aranyaka Upanishad. So that is why Triambakam Yajamahe mantra is contemplated here, and this is the reason also why we always say Adityatmaka Rudrasya. The Adidevata of Rudroprasana is Aditya Surya, Adidevata of Rudroprasana is also Surya. Surya, Rudra within Surya. All deities within Surya is Rudroprasana. So, Ishavasyam idam sarvam. Vasudeva is inhering in everything, and everything inheres in Vasudeva. So, when you read these two texts together, then if a person has understood the Triambaka mantra, if a person has understood the Rudroprasana mantra in this way, Sakhalu evam with Brahmanaha. One who understands in the following manner is the real Brahmana. Not just because a person has got Shika Sutra. One who understands like this is a Brahmana, then that Brahmana who understands it, Dirghashruttamo bhavati. Dirghashruttama is the name of the sage, and it also means one whose knowledge is undying. Therefore, immortality is where we have acquired the knowledge which will never be obsolete, which will never die. So, having looked at all these things, have you got the central message of what Triambaka mantra is? We have been roaming about in this forest for the last 5 classes. What is the central message? Triambakam Yaja. That is the key word. Worship Triambaka. For what purpose? So that you are never separated from immortality. Right? So, how do we do this? The Triambaka, I gave several interpretations to the three eyes, 3 Agnis, all those things I talked about. Here you look at another 3. We do Trikala Sandhya. The Sandhya that we do, Trikala Sandhya, what is that? Is it just sitting and then sipping some water and throwing some water and then using Gayatri Mantra? Absolutely, and not knowing what we are doing. And then we may know the mantra, it's all right. Yadatma Prajnaya Atmanam Sandhatte Paramatmani. Yat, when an individual, here Atma means a person, Prajnaya, with wisdom, Atmanam Sandhatte, merges or identifies or connects his mind and intellect with Paramatmani, with the Paramatman. That means when the Paramatma and the Atma are linked together. What is the chain that links them together? Prajna, wisdom. Yat Atma Prajnaya Atmanam Sandhatte Paramatmani Tena Sandhya Dhyanamevam. Then you who is doing the Atma who has got the Prajna connecting with Paramatma, the Paramatma and the Atma, both of them meditate. So if you were to ask the question, what is the purpose of Shiva all the time doing tapas? What is he doing tapas? What does he want? Because every tapas is for some purpose, isn't it? For what purpose is Shiva doing tapas? Shiva is doing tapas with all other tapasvis who have actually connected themselves with him, with Prajna. So Atma and Jivatma, Atma or Jivatma meets Paramatma with a contact device called Prajna, which is wisdom. So Shiva, the Amrita, and Ashiva, the mortal, has now become one through what link? Amritat. In Sandhya, the link is Atma Paramatma by Prajna. Here, Mrityu, Amrityu by Amritat. So every time you do Sandhya Vandana, every time you chant the Sandhya Vandana mantra, please contemplate on this. One final point on Triambaka mantra. This is one of those unique mantras similar to Gayatri mantra, which is used in Parayana, it is used in Japa, it is used in Dhyana, in Homa, and in Yajna. There is one very special Yajna which pretty much nobody does, but it can be done. It is called as a Shakamedha. This Shakamedha is part of the Pitru Yajna. See, in many times when you do Pitru Yajna, we usually in the Dakshinagni, I talked about the Agnis. In the southern part, Dakshinagni, that is where the Havis is offered for the departed forefathers. But then a special altar, all square altars are called Standila, technically. So a square altar is installed in the northern side of the Yajnasala, and in that Yajnakunda, a Homa called the Triambaka Homa is performed. See, note the distinction between Mrityunjaya Homa and Triambaka Homa. For both Mrityunjaya Homa and Triambaka Homa, we use the same mantra, Triambaka Mechamahe. But this is a special yajna where it is done as part of the Pitru Yajna, while we are using the Dakshinagni for doing the Pitru offerings. In the northern side, we invoke Rudra in a square standila or in a square altar, and then the Triambaka Homa is used at that time. Then, interestingly, the Yajamana, Patni, the children, and unmarried children, unmarried daughters. Yajamana, Patni, children, married or unmarried, male children, married or unmarried, and the girls, unmarried girls, they go around this northern Yajnakunda patting their thighs like this and saying Triambaka mantra. I do not know why, but that is the vidhi. So you go around the altar, Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam, like that. They have got to do the pradakshina as any number of times that one goes on. I think this is about what we will contemplate on the Triambaka mantra. Much more to think about, but for the purpose of our study, this should be